I have with me today Mr. Shelby Lanier Jr., correct? And we're going to do what we call a video autobiography. Good morning, Mr. Lanier.
Oh, morning, Brother Penny.
Um, when were you born, Mr. Lanier?
I was born April the 20th, 1936.
And are you a Louisville?
I was born right here in Louisville, Kentucky, the Louisville General Hospital.
Okay. Where did you grow up at?
I grew up in an area they call Limerick. We lived at the 726 Oldham Street,
Okay.
Oldham Street. And then our next residence, my parents, we moved to 903 South 7th Street. Now, that is the area at the time where many of you are familiar with College Court. College Court was just being built when I was born, and then, like I say, I grew up in the College Court. I attended school at Mary B. Talbot, and I went to Jackson Junior High School, and might say walked there. You know, we didn't ride no bus there, and we sure didn't ride no public transportation there because my people couldn't afford, that. But I went to Jackson Junior High School. I graduated from Jackson Junior High School and went to Central High School. Then I graduated from Central High School in 1954. And I might say it, I always say, while I was at Central High School, I played varsity football and also played varsity baseball. And then I could go on into the teachers and that kind of stuff.
What position you played on the football team?
I played, at that time we played offense and defense. I played what they would call now the wide receiver is the offensive thing. And I played defensive end and linebacker.
Okay.
So I played both those. In baseball, I played left field and center field.
Well, tell me this, Mr. Lanier. Did you have any brothers and sisters?
I had one brother. My brother's name was Richard. I had one sister, and her name was Cleo.
Are they still living?
No, my parents and my brother and sister all deceased. Yeah, right.
Okay. Mr. Lanier, your career in police, being a policeman, how did that evolve? As a kid, did you have an interest in being a policeman? How that?
Okay, let me so I make it clear to the people who are watching this. I didn't start out as no police officer.
Okay.
I gave you my background at Central High School, and when I graduated from Central High School, I went to Central State College then. This is Central State University in Wilberforce, Ohio. And I went there for 1 year, and I went there on a athletic scholarship. And while I was there, when the summer came, I went off on play baseball. We're gonna get discovered, and I'm gonna play professional baseball. So I went off. The time to go back to school, I had been playing baseball, and I played with. And I'd say I played professional baseball because anytime that you get paid for playing baseball, that's professional. And I played with the Zulu Giants. And for some of you are familiar with the what they call the Negro Baseball League, Negro American Baseball League, whatever they called it. And some of you may be familiar with the Birmingham Black Barons, the Indianapolis Clowns, and the Kansas City, I think it was called Kansas City Monarchs, and the Zulu Cannibal Giants. And I might explain to you that the Zulu Cannibal Giants, we had a bus, and the bus had paintings on there of what folk thought to be Zulus. I mean, with the skirts on, and the war paint on, the markings on, and the Zulus traveled in the country, and we went up north for white folks who believed that stuff, that you know that, and we played on the field with these skirts on, but it really wasn't skirts, you know, skirts with the other part of the uniform, and the little paintings on our face. And so that was my experience. Now, with the hopes when I was doing that to be getting discovered by the major league teams at that time. You know, and I even tried out for the, I think it was the St. Louis Cardinals, one of those teams out of here at, was then Parkway Field, which later became the field for, I think, for the Louisville Cardinals, and then they went on to another field. But I actually played there, tried out for that team, and I tried out for another team somewhere up in Hodgenville, somewhere up in Indiana, but I didn't get discovered. So then what happened is that it's time to go back to Central State to the school. I joined the U.S. Air Force. So, and I went into the United States Air Force, and when I was in the Air Force, I worked on all the electronic equipment on B-52 bombers. They still have B-52s now, and also KC-135s. Those are the planes that refuel the B-52s, and I think people still see where these planes are refueled while in flight. I worked on the electronic equipment on all of that, on the B-52 and the KC-135. And I might, you know, go back a little bit. When I was at Central High School, I was trained in, made in what we had then was electricity, and then we also had aeronautics course in aeronautics, and I took both of those courses. Now, I, you know, had the vision of being an airplane pilot, you know, and so that's why I knew all the basics on that. And like I say, and I tell people today, I can take a plane off the ground right now. I don't care what kind of plane it is, but the problem is getting it back on the ground. So you know, that is the problem. Now, when I might digress a little bit. Before I went into the Air Force, I was in the Air National Guard out at where the airport is now there, and I worked on what they call I think it was called P-51s. Then it later became the F-51s and that kind of stuff. I used to taxi these aircraft, these fighter planes, out and then run the engine up, and then check all of the electronic equipment on those. So I started out, that background that I got in Central in electronics, it carried on into to my thing, you know, when I went further, you know, when I went in the Air Force. I wasn't in the Air Force, y'all, in no military police. So a lot of people, you know, they get you, yeah, well, you know, I wasn't in no military police. I wasn't in no police thing in the Air Force. I was in electronics. And so then when I came out of the Air Force, I applied for jobs in the field that I was trained in. And that was, I applied at Xerox, IBM, and those places. But unfortunately, and so that you all understand, is that I went and got interviewed for those jobs, and then, you know, and I talk about the smiling face again. They smile in your face, and then tell you that we give you a call. And I can say to every one of you, and I be honest in what when I say to you, I ain't got a call from none of them to this day. And this is what the year 2015. And so, but what was happening there, when I applied for those jobs, you know, there were whites that were applying for them too. Now, what they were doing then is that the job encompassed, and I'll explain about the, you know, Xerox machines, and you got all kind of electronic machines that you got now, you know, duplicators and everything else. What they would do is that they'd send them off to school or something up in New Jersey somewhere, and they'd have, they'd be working in suits and have a company car, and they'd send them to school and stuff, and then after they got out of school, man, they'd get employed, and they would come around to just like you have businesses now, and they have some problem with their electronic equipment and stuff, and what they would do is see if they could take care of right there. If not, they'd give them another machine, and then take that one on back, you know, to the shop and fix it. Now, that's the kind of work I did in the Air Force. You see what I'm saying? Now,
Well, how long were you in the Air Force?
I was in the Air Force for 4 years, and I might say this to those people out there, you know, I wasn't drafted, I volunteered. And, you know, you could have been drafted then. I wasn't no draft dodger like many of them are, a lot of them now, and they left the country.
Was the country in the middle of a war during that period?
Well, I was in there during the end of the Korean War, and then, you know, they after that was a period, and then they got into the Vietnam War. But I was in there for 4 years. Now, the closest I came to being sent up out of this country was they had the first Lebanon crisis thing, and people might not be familiar with that, but that was a situation, and we were all loaded into a, and that was when I was in the Strategic Air Command. That's called SAC, and that's what I was in, you know, and at that time I was out there in Spokane, Washington, and they had that the first, and we all got loaded into a troop ship, and they were gonna ship us to Thule, Greenland. Now, I don't know any of y'all familiar with Thule, Greenland, and that's one of the coldest places in the world that you can be. Now, ain't nobody in the current service, the ones in Iraq and all that kind of stuff, ain't nobody being sent to no Thule, Greenland. They only, you know, that's the coldest place in the world. You know, that's close I came, and they loaded us up. And then what happened is that they called off the crisis. It ended up that was the thing when the embassy, something was invaded over there in Lebanon, and some people may be familiar. I could run the history down on that, but y'all can research that. You know, they got stuff, you know, in the internet. Y'all can find out all about that you want to know about.
So,
yeah.
After your military
Okay.
Tour was over, and that was, what year was that?
I was discharged in September of 1960. Must have been 1960.
Okay.
Something like, yeah, about 1960. That was 4 years. I
And
went in 56, and then I was discharged in 1960.
What rank were you at when you came out?
I was at the same rank I was at when I retired from the police department, for real. I was airman second class, two stripes. And what they offered you then, try to get you to re-enlist, and they say, well, we'll make you airman first class, and all this kind of stuff. And then I told them, I said, well, I don't want to lose my time in grade, I say I done been airman second class, which I was after I come out of the electronic school, you know, and so they played the same.
So why did you come out? How come
I-
you did not pursue it as a career?
Well, I mean, look, man, while I was in the Air Force, I applied, man, for OCS, that's officer training thing. So, and then the same thing, I was in the ROTC for that little time I was up at Central State. Now, I knew the officer training thing, man. Then you gonna be, you make more money, man, than an enlisted officer. Plus, you then have the opportunity where you can fly the aircraft. I could have been flying the B-52s or the fighter planes or whatever it is, man. So it goes back to the basic thing that I wanted to do from my education at Central High School was really to be involved in electronics and in flying. You see what I'm saying? So it's the same thing in the Air Force. It's a destructive thing, man, where the commissioned officers, man, you make more money.
Correct.
Plus you have, and you are in the leadership position. You're in charge of folk, man. You know, and so that's what I think, and was to really the thing that was coming from within here, and which I say, man, that comes from the Creator. You know, I don't get into that, man. People get nervous when I start talking about the Creator. You know, but it's the thing that I think was put into me by the Creator was to be a leader.
Yes, sir.
And a leader in the sense of helping your people, man. And like I'll get off of that, but I will, man, is that I love black folk. And the reason I love black folk, because I love myself. I love my mama and my dad, and I hope everybody listening to this, that they feel the same way. You ought to love yourself. If you don't love yourself, there's something wrong with you. And if you love your Creator, if you believe in a Creator, and your Creator created you, and your Creator loves you, then it don't make sense for you not to love yourself. That's if you're a believer. Some people, they're not believers. They say they believe, but they don't. You know, and I say this every opportunity I get to say it, is that I believe in the Creator. I believe that the Creator knows everything, and you ain't got no secrets. So you can try to deceive me and Brother Bennett, but you cannot deceive the Creator. But if you're a non-believer, then you don't believe that stuff. So you just lie and to everybody, and think nothing gonna happen to you, and don't nobody know about it except you. I don't believe like that.
Okay.
And I don't take up nothing. Everybody can believe like they want to, you know.
You completed your military experience and you came home.
That's right.
And then what happened?
I came home, and like I say, I applied for those jobs. And then when I came home, I was living out there with my parents. Out on Fredericks Lane, is now Breckenridge Lane. Okay, and what I did in that time, they would advertise in the paper about jobs. And let me say to all of y'all, they was advertising for jobs one time, and said white only. So you didn't waste your time. And I have more respect for that than the job that goes on now. In other words, you ain't waste my time or waste your time coming up in there, and then I'm black, and you already say I ain't gonna hire. This job is for white folk only. Now they do that. They did that then, okay? And so therefore what I would do is that I would see the jobs advertised, and I would walk from 3634 Fredericks Lane, which is Breckenridge Lane now, to Bardstown Road, and catch the bus to ride into town to go to those places that advertise for employment. All right? And I might say this to everybody, is that I was unsuccessful in the attempts. Unemployment officers too, their thing. If you didn't show them you've been out looking for a job, they'd cut off your unemployment and that kind of stuff.
So how long were you unemployed?
I was unemployed for about 1 year after I come out of there. Now, let me get into how I got into this police thing. Now, what I did is that I tried to get those jobs which I was qualified to do, and I gave it to all of you about the electronic stuff. And the results of that is that, you went in there and they smiling faces and talking about that we'll call you later and almost telling you, well, you overqualified because I was more qualified than what the qualifications were. I had more experience than what you really needed. So they ran that game down, you're overqualified. And I ain't want you to tell me about I'm overqualified. I want a job, and I want a job in what I'm trained to do. And I have something that would be beneficial to the companies. I'm not coming in there saying, you train me to do something. You're going to make money as a result of what I have to give to your business. Mm-hmm. And I mean, that's the way I look at it now, and that's the way they all look at it. Okay, so then, after seeing what was going on, I made a decision. I said, well, that's when I took the police department test. I also took the fire department test. And let me say to everyone, I passed both of those tests. I made 7th out of everybody that took the police department test. I ain't talking about the blacks. I'm talking about everybody that took it. Black, whites, or whatever, that took that test. I made 7th. I made the 7th high school. So I should have been hired under any kind of circumstance. But I'm going to tell you the truth of how I got hired in the Louisville Police Department. There's a black dentist named Dr. Johnson who had his office on Old Walnut Street. Dr. Johnson was a good friend of my family, my mama and daddy, and Dr. Johnson knew the safety director. And the safety director at the time was Colonel Matan. Yeah, Matan. That's his name. Okay. And so Dr. Johnson, he went to Colonel Matan and more or less, and I'm just paraphrasing and say, he's a good boy. Why don't y'all hire him? Colonel, can y'all hire him? And that's how I got hired, y'all. I got hired because of Dr. Johnson and the Colonel Matan. The Colonel Matan had the power to do that. So that's why then they took my, I should have been hired anyway, whether, Dr. Johnson, they talked to him, or whether Colonel Matan, I should have been hired according to their standards because I'd made 7th. But that's how I got hired in the Louisville Police Department. Now let me give you some more stuff. I went to the police academy, which was held right in town there. Okay. Now when I went into the police department, what was going on then, y'all? The recruit classes that they had either had no blacks whatsoever in them, or they had 1 or 2 blacks in them. That was the history, before I went into this thing. Okay. Now, when I went in the class, there were 2 blacks, me and a brother named Booker Blakely. We were the only 2 blacks in that class, out of that whole class. And I can tell you some of the whites was in there, and I can tell you one who's one of the ex-chiefs is Chief Richard Dotson. And you all remember the case Richard Dotson and the kind of stuff that went on there. He was in the class that I was in. And I can say this, and he can be looking at me, he's still alive. And anybody know his daddy ain't alive, because he did. His daddy was a captain in the police department. And so that's why we went through the training, and I know I came out almost tops in that class. Richard Dotson, if you still living, and he, because I didn't testify to it in federal court before, is that he did not qualified to be a police officer according to the rules of the class. Because if you fail that last part about running that mile within a certain time limit up there in the gym, then you didn't pass in the class. But let me say this to all of you. The focus then was retaining all of the people in the class. Because all of the people in the class had been all white folk, and then just one or two blacks. So the thing was retaining everybody. So they overlooked stuff. And so they overlooked the fact that on the day that we had to qualify running that mile, Richard Dotson, he didn't run the mile. He fell out, and stuff, after the run a few laps or whatever it was. So technically, he should have been dropped out of the class, but they didn't.
So tell me a little bit about the
Sure.
police department back then.
Okay.
I mean, you grew up in a period I call apartheid, and that racial separation, and I know that was kind of subsiding as time went along. But when you first joined the police department, were the specific rules that were racial based that you couldn't arrest certain white folk or anything like that, or were you assigned to certain areas? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Well, let me say you referred about a racial apartheid. Let me say this, man. Racial apartheid didn't just exist in the police department, it existed in the community.
Correct.
So you know that, other people know it, man. And we had the city, and that when the black folk living, you see what I'm saying? Old Warner Street, man, is that area started at 6th Street and went west to what we call 13th Street, then on 14th Street, but it went to 13th Street. Now, encompassing that area was Beecher Terrace, the housing project, right? And then it also then went from over there by Liberty Street over going south to close to Broadway. And in that area, and I might say, was my church, and the church that you familiar with is Emmanuel Baptist Church. Was right there at about what we call it was on 10th Street, just north of Broadway. At about a block over there to where it would be like a magazine or something like that. And that's where Emmanuel Baptist Church was. And so the area that I might say this when I came on, black police could not ride in no car. I graduated from I told you the class that I graduated from, and when I came out of graduating, it didn't make no difference about my position in the thing. Is that I couldn't ride in a police car because all of us had to walk. Now, if you can imagine, so I don't know, because your imagination, I'm gonna tell you the truth. We didn't have no two-way radios that we carry like they have now. So we didn't have no radio. The only way that we communicated is that we had a phone number that we would call, and you put a dime or whatever it is in for a phone call, quarter, now I guess, and then you would call in. Now, the purpose of that is that we had to call in, I believe, on the half hour and tell them where you were. You say, this is Footbeat, so-and-so, blah, 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 blah. Then on the hour, you had to make what they call a post. And meant that you had to come to a certain location out there so that then they could ride back to make sure that you was out there, that you was there. So now, if y'all can imagine, I don't have no reason to lie to none of you, and we know about, you talk about the weather that we've had and everything. And let me explain to you, I just explained to you all what the situation was. Now, we couldn't ride in the car. Now, we'd have been trained to do all the stuff that the police do, in the car and all that kind of good stuff. But we couldn't do that.
So you trained in the car, but you never.
You were trained, man, to do, what? In other words, the stuff that you had to do. You had to do patrol work. Police had to do patrol work, and at that time there wasn't no EMS, so we had like ranch wagons that had stretchers and stuff like that, where we had to make hospital runs. We had to carry the people that got shot, the people that got cut or whatever it is. The police carried them to the emergency room up there at the general hospital called the University Hospital now.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and we got first aid training in class.
Mm-hmm.
So we knew how to buy bandages and stuff and keep you from bleeding to death, and how to put you on that stretcher and put you in the back and carry yourself, carry you to the hospital.
Mm-hmm.
That's what the police was trained to do.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we was trained too. But the reality of it is that I trained them in it because they did not let us drive the police car. So what we had to do, y'all, we had to walk.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm saying is that, we work 3 shifts, day shift, and 311 and 11 to 7 shift.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you can imagine being out there, it didn't make no difference about the temperature. Temperature could be 10 below zero. We were out there, y'all, walking the beat on Old Warner Street. And, and so, and then making posts and calling in. All right? Although we had all of the training, but the thing was that people ain't see no blacks driving no police cars because it didn't happen. And the only blacks that you had in the police department were in what we call the 2nd District. That's where we were. There wasn't no blacks out there in Old Louisville and South End and nowhere else in the city of Louisville except right there in that area I just told you all. And those blacks there to make sure that if the white folks drove through there, that the blacks were being treated differently than the whites, they would see the blacks walking the beat. Now you talked about who you could arrest. Who you could arrest? You couldn't arrest nobody but black folk because there wasn't no white folk down there for you to arrest.
Mm-hmm.
And so you can't arrest nobody beyond east of 6th Street because you ain't there east of 6th Street.
Mm-hmm.
And you might be east of 6th Street when you wasn't no police, when you got to work, you could walk up and you could go up to 4th Street, all that kind of stuff. But when you went up to 4th Street, and then you couldn't even try on the clothes in the store, so we went through that stuff. And then, so therefore, you couldn't lock up nothing but black folk because there wasn't nothing but black folk for you to lock up. So let me get back to the thing about being out there in them elements, man. Now, if you didn't establish a relationship with your people, boy, then you were subject to freeze to death out there. Because we had a relationship with our people. So that they had an area up there on one street called the Arcade. So they had little businesses up in the arcade. And then they had the joints, the nightclubs and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And the joints and the nightclubs, they closed in, I think, about 2 o'clock, same thing now.
Mm-hmm.
But when the joints was closed, buddy, you didn't have no place to go and to get out of the elements out here.
Mm-hmm.
So therefore, you were just out there. Now, if you didn't establish your relationship and keep your relationship with your people, man, then you see what I'm saying? Now, man, look, we would go to the YMCA at 10th and Chestnut. So I would know Mr. Coleman, that headed and we knew all the other people there. So we could go up there, buddy, to get out of the elements. And the many times, man, and then we checked it out for them, make sure that the security was right. I walked up the 6 floors up there, man, and stuff. They didn't even have no elevators in there then. You see what I'm saying? So we stayed in shape. Plus, man, we could come. No way, man, you have to have some common sense to survive.
Mm-hmm.
And you ain't got no common sense, or you get out there, man, and freeze to death or starve to death if you ain't got no sense to figure out how to eat or how to survive in the elements.
So how long that lasts?
That lasted until, and I can say this, is that I was there to be a part of being, when they first integrated the cars, man. Now let me say to all of y'all, that came about as a result of black folk, man, complaining about it. And I'm talking about the NACP and those organizations. And I might say this, you know, I don't know if I'm jumping, is that man, I was one of the first blacks in that police department to ride to the two-wheel motorcycle. And me and George Bell, we were the first one in the South, and y'all do the research on it, to be assigned to riding two-wheel motorcycles in the whole South. And that came about as a result of black folks saying, why is it that all of the police that riding on a two-wheel motor are whites? And so they pushed it, man. I didn't have no desire to ride no motorcycle, but I did it, man, as a result of black folk, man. And then I learned to ride a motorcycle the right way. And I might say this, I ain't knocking my brothers out there, you know. We had brothers riding motorcycles and Screaming Eagles and other motorcycle organizations and stuff like that. But let me say this, when they had the motorcycle races, I mean the real things here, they had them in Louisville and stuff. And there wasn't no blacks riding in that, because, boy, you had to really know about riding that motorcycle. So you couldn't be sticking your foot out, man, when you're turning, like they tell you about some of the brothers. I know many of the brothers who ride the motorcycle here and everything else. I never had no motorcycle of my own, and any desire. The only motorcycle I ever rode was that police motorcycle. Mm-hmm. And I rode that motorcycle. I was trying to ride it the right way. So I wasn't doing those other things, man, that they do, man. Mm-hmm. And I had never ridden a motorcycle in my life. And now let me say some of the things that they had I was on that motorcycle drill team, and we went to events like the Indianapolis the 500 Memorial Day thing, which they have on Memorial Day up there in Indianapolis. The motorcycle drill team, which I was a part of. And I got pictures to show you what letter I was in there and all that kind of stuff. We did figure eights and all of that old kind of stuff, man. I was a part of that, and I had never ridden a motorcycle in my life. Like I say, man, my thing was electronics and working in that. So I didn't have no orientation, not to even be no policeman. I wasn't in no military police. A lot of people say, yeah, well, you know, the police, they recruiting them because they was in the military there, and then they come in the police department now, and they don't know nothing except that military bull crap, y'all. Mm-hmm. Now, let me say this, y'all, and I say this, and I'll take the opportunity to say it on here. I learned how to kill people, not in the police department. I learned how to kill people in the military. Mm-hmm. That's where you learn how to kill people. I went through the same thing that you in the Air Force, Army, Marines, whatever it is. You went through that basic training where they teach you how to take that rifle. And the MC, you take it apart, and I can do that, still do that now, man. Same way you remember your ALC, your thing there in the military, just like you remember your Social Security, the thing that they put into your brain. And then that's when I learned how to kill people. Police, I went to firing range and learned how to shoot that pistol and all that stuff. They ain't teach you how to kill people. That learn how to kill people comes from that military. So then it goes back to the thing, man, about recruiting people in the military. People think it ain't nothing good. Recruit somebody that's a trained killer. That's what they are.
So, as a police officer, how were you different from other policemen? And tell me also, how did you evolve into the Louisville Black Police Officers Association, which you founded?
Okay, let me say the first question you said, how was I different from other police officers? The same way I'm different from other people that, what kind of work they do. And we all are different. Now, we all are different in different ways, but there's one way that we are not different from each other. And that is if you're a believer. If you're a believer in the Creator, and that the Creator created all of us, and that the Creator is the Father of all of us. Now, if you believe in that, then you also believe that if you have one Father, which is the Creator, and the Creator created all of us, which means that we are all the Father's children, that means that all of us are brothers and sisters. That's who we are. And none of us are the Father. None of you that were created, that's here now and ain't here now, was the Creator. You wasn't what I'd say, so some people get understanding, young people, you wasn't Big Daddy. And I'm referring to as Big Daddy. That's the one that was in charge of everything. And so it wasn't the police department ain't create me, the Creator created me. And so that's why I'm different, in answer to the question is that I'm different from every other police officer. If you employed as a police officer, if you was employed as a whatever job that you work at, you are different, and so am I. Unique, and I tell people right now, the most unique thing, you are the most unique thing in this universe. That's if you believe in the Creator. Because I believe that the Creator created you, just like He created me, and threw away the mold. There's not another named person like that's talking to you in this world. There's just one, and that's me. And there's just one of every one of you all that's watching this, of you in the whole universe. So, I mean, I got to get off the spinning off into things, and that's why I say to all of you, with what they gonna call your demons and stuff, and then you want to do things, you want to take mind-altering drugs, and that's alcohol, cigarettes, and cocaine, anything else that you want to say, is that what you're talking about doing is that you want to mess up the thing that the Creator gave you as being the most unique thing in this whole world. So why do you want to alter that? It's got to be something wrong with you. That's if you're a believer, and if you believe in the Creator, then you also believe in yourself. And that's where I believe right now. Ain't nobody give me nothing. Tell me something gonna make me feel good. No, man.
Shelby, tell me this.
Sure.
How long were you an officer before the Black Police Officers Association evolved? And what brought that on?
Okay, let me tell you what brought that on. When I came into the police department, they had what they call the Fraternal Order of Police. So you don't get complicated what about the Fraternal Order of Police is, y'all. Fraternal Order of Police is the same thing as if you all work at G or wherever you work at, they have unions there. So that's all the Fraternal Order of Police was the union for the police officers. So what they did, they bargained for you getting raises on your job, you get sick days on your job, and when I say that, I'm talking to everybody that's got a job out there where you have a union. That's what they do. They bargain with the other folk to give you these things. You have sick time, and it's about standard in all of wherever you work at. 3 days, you got 3 days sick time. And then after 3 days, you have to bring a doctor's statement in there in order for you to be taking more than them 3 days. And that's standard right now, but probably for, everyone wherever you work at. It was there in the police department and everywhere. Those are things that union works to get you. Otherwise, the job people, they be able to work you. They could work you, say you got to work 12 hours a day, all day, and just give you whatever they want to give you. And so you wouldn't have no, you couldn't do nothing, you couldn't do nothing about that. And then all the unions, they had the power to say, okay, if we don't get these things, what we gonna do, and we are the ones that make up the department, that we are the ones that make up the Ford Motor Company and stuff. Ford Motor Company cannot make a dime without them workers producing the product. So I want all y'all to understand that. It ain't complicated. So by the same token, what I did, I come in there, I mean, the Creator gave me a mind, my mom and daddy did too. And Central High School did too. So I had a common sense to tell me is that I come up in here and then you got me out here, I got to walk in the elements. I'm confined to some place here. I can't drive the police car, and the others can, is that you're not representing me, you representing one part of the people who belong to the FOP or the union. So, but black folk a lot of times, y'all, they get up into thinking, well, it's the way they do it. I don't care nothing about the way they do it. If somebody got a way of doing things, just come in your house and then take your wife and rape her or something like that, and you say, well, they do it. Well, that ain't me. You ain't gonna come to my house and do that. And then it goes back to slavery time, you know. No, you ain't gonna do that. Because I ain't gonna let you do that. I'm gonna be what I'm supposed to be. I'm supposed to protect my family. I'm supposed to do that. I'm a man. And so you ain't gonna come up in here to a man and say, look here, I'm gonna take your wife up here, and I'm going on back to the slavery time, I'm gonna come up, take up there and rape her. Take your little sister, take your mama up here and do that. They did that stuff then, y'all. Now, and what I say is that in this form of doing the same thing, I'm not gonna pay my money into no union and not get the same privilege as the other people get in the union. That don't make sense. So what I did is that I said, I ain't gonna pay no more FOP dues. And so what I did, I sent a letter to all of the blacks that were in that police department, and there wasn't about 30 of us or something like that. And I rented a room, meeting room, at the YMCA at 10th and Chester, same YMCA I told y'all about. And then I felt so good because so many of them showed up, y'all. And so I know, you know. So then I sat there and then, explained, why it's calling me. And so help me God. I don't have no reason to lie to none of it. You had, just among them 30, we had some of them saying things like, I'm opposed to this all black. I sit there and listen to that. I ain't said nothing till, and then we had one brother there, and he said this, y'all. He said, I'm a chaplain in the FOP. And I just sit there and listen to this stuff, y'all. And so it's the same stereotype stuff, is that blacks are always able to pray. So what the hell you in the order that you gonna be the one that prays up in here? That's an insult to y'all. It should be. Well, I can't deal with y'all, I have to deal with me. So I heard all of this stuff, and I couldn't hardly believe what I was hearing, because I knew that all of them were going to feel just like me, because they've been treated this way. And they were there before I was and stuff. So I felt so good about that. Now, that was, I think, somewhere around 1970, 71, something like that. Now, so then I got, when I said this, I said, and one brother, he belonged to the same Emmanuel Baptist church that I belong to, still belong to now, and belong to, is on 10th Street then. And I said to that brother, I said, brother, let me say this to you. Are you opposed to that all-black family that you have? Are you opposed to that your black wife, your black children? Are you opposed to that all-black Emmanuel Baptist church that we go to? The pastor's black, everybody in that church is black. Are you opposed to that? So that's how I had to talk to them. And so I'd say, I was talking that way then, and I'm talking about that way now. I talked that way when I was in the Air Force, y'all. I was subjected to some stuff up in there. I digress. When I was in going through electronic school up there in Belleville, Illinois. I was the only black in that class. Now all the rest of them were whites. And in these classes, you take a break. They take a smoke break where you out there and you squat down and you smoke cigarettes. I didn't smoke then, so we all squat down. And I remember this white boy, and he was from North Carolina. I could almost remember his name. So while we all squatted down, he came behind me and faked like he gonna kick me in the behind, y'all. Let me say, I know something about martial arts. I don't be telling people what I know, because I do what I have to do when I have to do it. I turned around and I grabbed that boy by his foot, and I know I did a hard left and then a hard right on him, and then could have crippled him for life. And then all the rest of them there, and I didn't have no fear of none of them doing nothing to me because I wasn't gonna allow them to do nothing to me. So I never been afraid of my surroundings when I'm surrounded with no white folk. I don't care. I went through, and I told the story when I was raised up out there in Limerick, man. And I was walking through there one day. I was just a teenager, and there was 10 white boys. So if you don't get nervous, y'all be talking ain't no white and black. It is white and black. But anyway, they was all white, and I was the only black. And I walked through there, and they was all saying nigga, all this kind of stuff they was talking. And I didn't hesitate. I'm going to tell y'all, I physically made 5 of them bleed. I mean, hit them in the nose or whatever I was doing to them. And then, when I did, they ran, and the other 5 that was with them ran. So when I tell people I whipped 10 of them, I did. I whipped 10 of them because there's 10 of them there. And the battle was all 10 of them retreated, so I won the war, if you want to put it that way. So somebody gonna say, well, you didn't beat all 10 of them. No, I beat 5 of them because they was bleeding and they run off hollering the rest and they wasn't hollering nigga when they was running.
Shelby,
okay.
to tell me this, the Louisville Black Police Officers Association. Now, was it modeled after organizations in other cities? How did you come up with that concept? And
let me say, the concept come out of my mind, just like as I said, man, is that and let's sort of get it clear. A lot of people right now they say, yeah, the Black FOP. We ain't starting no Black FOP. I ain't starting no Black FOP. The name of that organization that we started was called the Louisville Black Police Officers Organization, LBPOO. Not it wasn't the Black FOP or nothing. And clearly, so it would be no confusion, we didn't have the authority of the police department to form our organization, same way the FOP had. So, and we did not get no time off to have our meetings. When we had our meetings was when we were off duty and had our time and stuff. And then later, when the start the organization, and then what happened is that in 1971, I had heard about the African American Patrolmen's League, which was in Chicago, that had been formed. I guess probably about 6, 8 or whatever, whenever it was. I heard about that. And then what I did after, started the Black Police Organization, Louisville Black Police Organization, I contacted a brother named Brother Lanier Jr, and he was in New York. And I called him on the phone because somebody had told me his name. And I called Lenny Ware, and he told me about the African American Patrolmen's League. It was in Chicago. And then he told me about Renault Robinson and Howard Saffold. These were members of and some are familiar with the history of Renault Robinson. And a lot of people say, me and Renault was kind of related situation. Renault, he wouldn't accept that stuff, and they put him on Simon's Gordon Alley and all that kind of crazy stuff. And so what I did is that I drove to Chicago. Man, I drove to Chicago by myself, man. I called up because Lenny Ware gave me the number. And I went to there, and they had an office on Jeffrey Boulevard. So I went to their meeting there, and that's where I met Renault Robinson, Howard, and a lot of the rest of them, man. Which I know all them brothers, man. Them brothers, we are brothers, man, till we leave up out of here, till we leave this world. That's how tight we are. So I went up there, man, and so that's the first time, man, been in here. And so, man, then when I came back, now at that time, we hadn't formed the National Black Police Association. Not them had theirs. A couple brothers in some other cities had their organization. I know in Philadelphia, they had the Guardians Association. In Detroit, they had that. So after I went there, and then, we started out in about 1971. In 1972, these organizations that had formed their own organization throughout the country decided to come to St. Louis, Missouri to start a national organization. And I was a part of that. So I was one of the founding fathers of the National Black Police Association. I was one of the founding members. And we met in St. Louis, Missouri. I'll never forget that, man. And we, rented, had the hotel and the meeting room and stuff. And we were in there, and so everybody came there feeling that they were going to be the ones to run the thing. Because, say, brother, in New York, they had a whole lot of members, and then in Chicago, they had a lot of members. And here we are. Man, we ain't had nothing but a handful of people. Mm-hmm. And then I can tell you about the other organizations from Alabama, they ain't have nobody. So, man, in them meetings, man, I'm saying you, boy, that we locked up in there. And then you had some of them, man, coming up at that crying because, they come there with a set agenda, man, of being the ones that, because we from New York, same kind of thing, we divided because I'm from, even locally, man, you do it, I'm from the East, I'm from all that kind of crazy stuff we get into. All right. So they were going to structure the organization just like, we going to structure about how many, this chapter got so this, so they going to have the power. And I'm the one, and everybody tell, I'm the one that come from the floor. There wasn't but two of us, me and John Southern, John Marvin Southern. He's retired from the police department. And then I'm the one that got him say, wait a minute. I said, why do we have to structure this, they was going to structure stuff like the FOPs got their structure. I said, we don't have to structure a thing like that. Because some of them, man, they had advice from lawyers, like lawyers and how you, like do that. Y'all got to do it like this because they do it like this. And we got to get it off, stop that bullshit, y'all. It tells us about, man, how you hire people. Well, you convict a felon and all that kind of stuff, so you can't get no job. Yeah, that's because they the ones that give you the job. But if we get the job, you set up your thing anyway. Yeah, you, Brother Bennett's son, you come out to penitentiary. Yeah, boy, you got a job here. And what you gonna work it, and then after the job's over, you gonna be involved in the other things that we say. You gonna belong in church or whatever we say. You gonna do this, you gonna do that. So we control it. And right today, man, that's why it's disappointing to me, is we have black folks saying the same thing. Well, they said, they who? Man, the creator ain't told me that they not the creator. They created confusion. But anyway, back to your question. I apologize, man, for digressing on it. To go back to the, so what happened, man, is that we come out of that was the meeting there in St. Louis. And we come out of that, man, with an organization structure. We had to give out what we're going to call the organization, all that kind of stuff, man. So, you know, because other people, the Guardians Association, they were the this and that, and I, you know, I could all the different names that they were calling themselves. But then we come out, man, and now we discussed it that we were going to call ourselves the National Black Police Association. That's what it was. Now, what we were doing, man, and so people don't get that. Here's the thing that we were talking about doing, man. We were talking, man, about doing things to cause the hiring of more blacks in police departments across this country. Elevating them, getting them promoted, man, into positions. And also, man, is that keeping us connected, man, with our black people out here. So it wasn't about in other words, man, we were being messed around and discriminated against in the police department, but we were also being discriminated against in the community. And when I'm saying that is that if we black folks in the community, man, we wasn't just no black police in the, you know, my daddy wasn't no police. My daddy worked at the Blue Boy cafeteria. And I can go with other people, man. So they were being discriminated against that the same way we were being discriminated against in the police department. So a lot of people, man, what they say, well, it's just about and we was black. And police thing, that's just what was employed. But we were being treated the same way as the rest of y'all was being treated wherever you was, man. You know, you worked at the Blue Boy. I worked at the Blue Boy cafeteria before I went to college. I worked there because my daddy worked there, and he got us jobs there working at the Blue Boy cafeteria, busting dishes. And when I was working at the Blue Boy cafeteria, we could not eat in the Blue Boy cafeteria like the other folks. We had to eat in the basement, y'all. You know what I mean? The blacks ate in the basement. So, and by the same time, we had whites that worked there. Yeah, they could eat up with the white folk. We had whites that worked there, and then what they did is that they treated them different on the job. I bust dishes, y'all. I'm talking about busting dishes. I'm talking about y'all. Now you got things you put. We had to carry them trays like that and carry the tray with all them dishes on it, and then carry another one right here, and then you carry it to the elevator. That's the time you got to come out where the white folks was, pick up them dishes. Then you put them dishes on that elevator, the little thing, you slap them, they carry them down there to the dish room down there in the basement. That's where the blacks was washing the dishes and stuff. And then the hustle there was that the white waitresses, here's what they do, man, is that you be busting this table, so man, you get all the tips on the table. So here's what they do, man, boy, they so mischievous all the time. That they would see you done got all these dishes on there, and then they run over with a little tray and go put a little dish on. So then they gonna get half of the money on the table. They would do stuff like that. Now I studied them, man, all my life, and every opportunity they get, man, to get a part of the little bit that you get, they do it. Yes. They do it right now, man.
Now, let me bring this up.
Okay.
In 1974, you initiated a discrimination suit against Louisville Police Department that resulted in a consent decree that brought about compensation, hiring, promotions, new assignments, and a change in the discriminatory practices of the department. Now, did you do that personally, or did your organization do that? And
well, and then a lot of times that's what people, man, they try to do, as you did personally. In other words, it came from me, man.
Who brought the suit? The police?
No, the police suit, man, was initiated by the Louisville Black Police Officers Organization. Okay, and then and so. Here's what we do, man. Is that
how did it come about?
It came about, man, because it's just like when I told you I formed the organization. It came about, man, because we were being discriminated against. In other words, we couldn't ride in the cars and stuff like that. So the thing is that now we didn't know about now the idea about initiating that suit that came, man, from when I got involved with the National Black Police Association, because what they did then, they initiated, man. They looked to going to initiating lawsuits to make them do these kind of things, you know. So it's the same thing. So then that idea, you know, hell, it came from, you know, us being there, man. People being together, man, of like mind, subjected to the same thing and recognizing that we are all subjected to this. So we throw down that other little stuff about who gonna run and who gonna be and who gonna take credit stuff. Now, so even to illustrate what I've just got through saying to you, Clinton, is that what we did, man, we wrote a letter to the that ain't and I got stuff that we wrote a letter, man, to the mayor about dealing with the conditions about us not being mowed and all that kind of good stuff. And at that time, man, when we did that, what happened, man, is that the department, man, had to bring charges against me. I was head of the Black Police Organization, and the letter went to them from the Black Police Organization. The same way, man, something come from the FOP. It don't come from the president of the FOP. The FOP, man, same way NACP. NACP is an organization, man. Organization, man, indicates strength. In other words, head of the organization, man, because all you do, if the organization is the head, all you got to do is kill the head, man. So you ain't got no organization.
Was the organization incorporated? Did it have legal status?
Sure, we had legal status, man.
Okay, all right.
You daggone right, we have legal status. You have legal status, man, if you get together and say, man, we are organization. So somebody gonna tell you what we do is black folk, here's what we start doing, man. We get hung up on that. Well, did they make you legal? And that's just like saying, man, you born and did somebody make you legal? You don't make me legal. I come out of my mama's womb. So we get caught up in that bulljive. You illegitimate. Ain't no such thing as no illegitimate. Illegitimate according to who? According to they, them. And then when I ask you who is the them, you can't tell me who the them is. What they said is that they said that you got to be married and stuff. So then you ain't married. So they said that you illegitimate. And I say to you, because you ain't going to accept what I say, because I ain't they, so you going to tell me I ain't got no authority to tell you that you are legitimate, because the Creator enabled you and for your mama and your daddy, whoever your mama and daddy is, to get together so you are here. So then you go to some other people that's here and they set up something and say, well, you this or that, and well, if you ain't this, you ain't that. Okay. And so do you accept? I don't accept that.